Good morning. I am here with Sammy Kinlaw, Vice President of Lexmark. Sammy, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So tell me, where are you today?
I'm in my home, not surprising. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right. So what's the vibe in North Carolina? How are you doing? How's your family? How are the Lexmark people doing all over the world? What's happening with Lexmark today?
Well, I've been calling this the Raleigh branch for the last 2 years, and I'm one of 2 employees here. So what's happening? Well, we're in sit and shelter, and that's for our entire state at this point. So no surprise, some states have this, some don't. It's been our new reality. Everybody's juggling and trying to learn, but surprisingly, we're doing pretty well considering the circumstances.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Your people out there, everybody's safe. What's Lexmark doing? New rules in place? How are you handling the situation from the perspective of keeping your team, protected and safe?
Sure. Well, that's a great opening question. And Lexmark responded very quickly, as did most good companies. We certainly looked at the health and welfare and protection of our employees first. There's task force that were quickly built and assigned to make sure that our employee base understood the rules and how do we protect them and what was the World Health Organization's direction. So we followed suit. Our employee base around the world has been working from home, although our Asia Pacific folks have kind of had a reboot over the last week. Things are getting back to normal there pretty quickly. So that's very encouraging in light of what's been going on within EMEA and, of course, what's happening here at home at North America. So we've responded. We have had very good success in transitioning into a mobile workforce, which is not easy. You got to have tools, security. You got to make sure that your employee base understands, how to react in these type of situations. So it's been, of course, with an unpleasant topic, it's been a pleasant experience to see it unfold.
It's amazing, and you're a bit unique, I would say, as far as the companies I've been interviewing. A lot of them have been U.S. based and just coast to coast coverage, which is a challenge for them. But you add another layer to it. You kind of alluded to it with the global footprint that you have. You're trying to follow the rules here. You're in lockdown in North Carolina. Your people are dealing with different rules in Lexington and in London and in Beijing, and so all over the world you've got to manage this. It's got to be quite challenging. How are you handling your resellers, your dealers? What kind of special things are going on with them? Or is there any technologies that have jumped out at you that have been sort of a light bulb moment where you thought, wow, this stuff is, we thought it was really cool before, but look at how critical it's become with, the new way of work?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. And you think about our partners and what they're dealing with today. And so whether you're talking about a small bar that sells all technology, or whether you're talking about one of our BSD partners, from our copier group, they're all challenged with very similar landscapes, in that they were selling and servicing into many industries and verticals that have slowed down. And so many of these shops are, of course, family owned or small number of employees. And so what drives those type of companies, and what drives those companies, much like, I guess, no different than a company the size of Lexmark, is working capital and cash outlay and, receivables, and, how are they working knowing that, perhaps the customers they were selling to can't pay them on time. So, we've really tried to think in the mindset of the smaller partner or mid-sized partner over the last couple of weeks. And so with that, we've responded with some very aggressive things to help them. And so a couple of those things would be 60-day terms that these partners can apply for versus a typical 30-day term offering. And so what does that mean for them? That means, in this point in time, it means a great deal, because it gives these guys an opportunity to go out and continue selling and servicing, and perhaps even extending, like terms to their end users while they get back on their feet. So that's been incredibly well received. Not new, but continuing on, and in light of what's happening, you got to think of the verticals that are doing well in this new world, and that would be government, of course, state, local education, school systems, private sector, and public sector. And we've got government discounts that are in addition to our typical promos that partners can accrue and use. So I think that's going to be very helpful, because that's going to be a growing sector over the next year. Clearly, as school systems convert to remote learning, gives new opportunities for our partners. And then you got to think about healthcare. We have, well over, Andy, more than 1 million devices under our management in our own managed print world. And so we see which industries are up and which industries are down. Well, no surprising, pharma, healthcare, hospitals, doctors' offices, all those versions of healthcare are up and to the right? The number of print jobs are increasing, and the consumption rate of toner has increased. So, solutions within our Lexmark industry advantage offerings with healthcare are being embraced in a big way.
That's awesome. You're known to be very strong vertically. You always have been, and healthcare has always been one of the big pockets. So, I no doubt that was going to be an area that popped for you. What kinds of the technologies? Lexmark is obviously is known for print, is known for collaboration, is known for moving information, especially in those verticals that you mentioned. What are some of your products and services that have really maybe kind of popped that you weren't expecting?
That's a great question. And so there are two things I would like your readership or listenership to think about today. One is the route within which technology is going to be consumed over the next 9 months. So route number one. And then secondly, what are the type of technologies that our partners should be embracing? Now, Microsoft released some stats this week that showed cloud usage was up very, very high double digits. I mean, up to a level where it would, it blows your mind when you read the stats. Wow. So do any Google search, you can see it. It's in their press, they released. And so you gotta ask yourself, if you're a technology dealer and you are making a decision about, a manufacturer to go with, this is going to be a hallmark where Lexmark is going to have an advantage. So two things I'd like to make sure, your listeners are aware of. Number one is cloud print management, and number two is cloud fleet management. The cloud is the future. The cloud has been the growth strategy for years for really all of IoT. And so we've embraced that. So cloud print management, as an example, companies are going to have less, as we discussed, they're going to have less working capital. OpEx is going to be challenged. CapEx is going to be challenged. And so with that, they may need to have lesser infrastructure to run their business. And if you look at any print environment that's out there today, anything that has any age, most of it's driven by x86 technology, old server technology. And that's a server in a desk or under a desk or in a closet. Nobody thinks about it, but I'll tell you when they do think about it, when it goes down.
Yep.
Right? Because if they can't print, what happens? Communication stops, business stops. And, or let's say if they have old technology that's not properly protected, it's got a security risk. And so what is secure and what does work? Things in the cloud, right? The cloud doesn't go down because there's redundancy. The cloud very, very rarely has a security breach unless there's human intervention that's caused the breach. And so cloud print management allows a company to get rid of their x86 architecture. One of our partners can implement this service, which is offered by us, our name's on it, that they can implement and charge for it to their end user. And they can take over that infrastructure. And so then an end user will have the ability to print That print document, so if they requested a print job, would release to the cloud, not through an x86 architecture server. That document would stay into the cloud until they're ready to receive it. They would release the document at printer with secure badge or with password access. So cloud print management has had a very, very quick rise for us. We only recently announced it in first quarter. It's now released for all of my geos. I have worldwide responsibility. So we've released it all over the world at this point. It's been announced since February. You have it on your website when we did release. So I know you wrote an article about it. So if you are a partner today and you're looking for new avenues to talk to your customers about, get with the cloud. And cloud print management is going to be the future of how infrastructure is built out. So don't get caught in the past. Live in the now. And the now for us is cloud print management.
It is the now.
That's number one.
It is
the now. It is the now. Yeah, it's not. It's and it's going to be the future.
Yeah.
Cloud's growing, not shrinking.
Yeah. So what was the other?
And then that was cloud print, and then cloud fleet management is an offering that Lexmark developed. As a reminder, Andy, what separates us from our competition is we do our own R&D. We don't buy our technologies. We own our own patents, and so those are not only our hardware offerings, but it's also our solutions and our services. And so, our team, to their credit, envisioned the cloud. You had to have your head in the hole if you weren't aware it was going to grow. It's just the realities with us sooner. And so, cloud fleet management allows partners to manage devices remotely, through our own offering. So, remote start, monitoring device usage. It's made the barriers for remote management to come down. Most of your readership is involved in managed print in some way. Smaller partners, though, might have struggled with it somewhat. Well, cloud fleet management is going to allow them to go further, quicker into this world, and they can do it through Lexmark with minimal cost versus if they were using third party, they were having to buy it.
Well, and you look at where we've come with all that. I mean, it wasn't, 5-10 years ago to get into that. You had to spend $25,000-$50,000 a year in subscription costs to get a server going with certain companies. And, those early adopters learned a lot of lessons, but they spent a lot of money. And now, now you've got partners like Lexmark, others that, the technology comes embedded. It's just a simple part of the entire fleet now as it goes out. And all you have to do is turn it on and play ball, right? I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
So.
Right on. True.
Well, I appreciate, I'm sure you've got a ton going on today. Before we wrap up, one last shot. Do you anything you want to say to everybody out there listening, watching? And then, we'll follow up in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, maybe see how you're doing, what the progress has been like for Lexmark as we hopefully start coming out of this. But any last comments?
Andy, what's going to matter to partners is at this point is they're going to need to respond quickly, right? Because when they are selling things, customers are going to need them now. And so what they're going to question, or I would question, is the manufacturer that I'm aligned with, can they supply and support me? And so I want to assure all of your readers that Lexmark factories are up and running around the world. We recovered very quickly. Some immediate slowness in APC right when the virus happened in that part of the world. But that's the beauty of having a worldwide manufacturing offering, is that we've got factories all over the world. And so we're assembling, we're building, we're supporting. I've got ample product on shelf within the BSD and within the VAR community. Check with any of our distributors. I've got 8 weeks sitting of the key models. So you're not going to be challenged when you find a new opportunity for us on the norm. Of course, there could be one-offs, as there always is when you have multiple part numbers. But, partners should be comfortable that we've responded, we're building, we're up and running, our people are selling, we've got a remote workforce, and the future for us will be different. And, our partners are going to have to think about, I mentioned route, so allow me to answer that if I may.
Yeah.
They've also got our partner community. If they weren't doing business in an e-com type format, you better get it up and running. It's not hard to do, but partners are going to need to respond differently to end users who are making centralized or perhaps decentralized purchase decisions. So an e-com platform is something I would highly encourage quickly. Sounds elementary, but it's not always the case. So if we can help in that manner, let us know. But nonetheless, I really want to thank you for taking some time and letting us give your readers an update on what's up with Lexmark. We're selling, we're up and running. My teams are excited to get back to a norm if there is going to be a new norm.
Aren't we?
And hopefully we can, yeah, right on. And hopefully we can continue this type of dialogue. So thanks.
Absolutely. Sammy, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and we will follow up soon. And to you and all your Lexmark people, be safe, be well, and thanks again for chatting with me today.
Take care, Andy. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.